Do you believe Keefe D when it comes to Puffy? Like when he make comments and say that, Puffy was scared of Tupac and Suge, so he would use him as protection when he came to LA, and how Puffy put a bounty on the death row chain for $1 million.
My personal, like, we know for a fact that Puffy was involved with, the Southside Crips, but, we don't really know the involvement, how far it went. You know what I mean? We don't really know if he really was part of it. Like Keefe D said that he was, he paid to get Pac and Suge and we don't know though. You know what I mean? Like, I still got to be just, even though if I don't really, hold Puffy in a high regards, or if I look at him a certain way, doesn't mean I can just openly say things that I don't know. You know what I mean? Because we do know that he was with him. We do know he was using them for protection. But Keefe D said that Puffy paid him. You never know. You know what I mean? I believe when he said that, Puffy was scared to come to LA and he was scared of it. We know that. You know what I mean? Like he's a very scary person, so that makes sense. You know what I mean? But as far as to say, I wouldn't put it past him, to be honest. If you want to know, I wouldn't put it past him. But we don't know. You know what I mean? We don't have no proof to say, I can't really say Puffy has something to do with it because there's no proof there. Other than it was a beef going on. You know what I mean? Other than it was a beef going on between, Death Row side and Bad Boy side. Everybody know that. That it was some beef and it was, East Coast, West Coast rivalry. But to go as far as say, we don't know. You never know, bro.
You said that you knew for a fact back then that Puffy had a connection with the Southside Crips and he was using them as protection. So that is true. You know that for a fact back then that they was using them when they came to LA.
Yeah, we knew that they was boys. Like Puffy and was connected with the Southside Crips for sure. And I think nobody, like, it wasn't a secret.
Did Tupac know about that in real time when he was alive, that Puffy had a relationship with the Southside Crips?
Yeah, that's why it goes down to the chain snatching. When the people were saying, when the people first tried to snatch the chain, rumor back then that it was a bounty on that chain, that Puffy was saying, we want to put this chain in in our video. And that's why the guys tried to snatch the chain and they didn't get the chain. And that's why Pac really took off and just started, you know what I mean? And fighting Orlando, because Pac look at it like, this is my beef now. So from back then, that was the word on the streets. That was the word that was coming back.
Crazy, man. So Pac mindset when he seen Orlando at the MGM Grand was, this is the guy that Puffy sent to try to get a death row chain. And that's the only reason why he attacked Orlando at the MGM Grand, was because of Puffy.
That's why Pac did it. Because he was looking at it from a standpoint of view, like, now, some people might say, oh, he got caught up in gang beef. At the end of the day, it's gang beef because, he was mainly with the Bloods, the Parus, and they were Southside Crips from Compton. But Pac did it because he thought this was an individual trying to snatch a chain to give back to Puffy. So Pac, like, that's my beef. You know what I mean? So let me show that I'm all in I'm with you guys on this one. Because of his loyalty, that's how he reacted.
No, Napoleon makes it damn clear that even though he does not have solid proof that Diddy had his hand in Tupac's death, he believes it, and he definitely wouldn't put it past Diddy. Because guess what? Scary people do scary stuff. And the world knew that Diddy was scared of Suge, he was scared of Tupac. Now, he also makes it clear that the reason why Tupac attacked Orlando was because of the chain. Because for a lot of the times, people question, why really did Tupac attack Orlando? And there you guys have it. Now, Napoleon is about to even say some more stuff about Diddy, and when it comes on to his involvement in Tupac's death. So I want you guys to watch the full interview. I seriously do not want you guys to miss any details. So watch the full video and listen thoroughly. Remember to drop a like, my people. Drop a like and subscribe, because this interview is very, very interesting. Once again, watch the full interview. Enough of me talking. Check it out.
So it came out that the police, they found 40 caliber, bullets at Keefe D house. And they said that they're going to, do forensics on it to see if it's connected to Tupac murder. What you think about that?
Bruh, I don't really like, for example, Keefe did admit that he was in a car. You know, word was going around that they was about to investigate him. You really think he would have bullets that was connected to a murder 30 years? That's why I said something don't even add up. You know what I mean? It won't even add up. If you know, for example, that you doing interviews and you saying you was in a car when Pac got murdered, man, I don't think he would have anything connected with that murder that day in his house. You understand? So I that's why I said something just, I don't know if they just giving out some news or just, you know what I mean, to make it sound like they doing some investigation, but Pac died in 96, almost 30 years ago. You think somebody gonna really say, come on, bro?
Yeah, I agree. I don't see that. You got to be a complete idiot to still have bullets from a murder that happened 27 years ago. I don't think Keefe D is that dumb, man.
Yeah, 30 years later, that's not going to happen. And I don't really know too much about him. I don't think that he was living in Vegas when it happened. You know what I mean? So I don't think like a lot of LA dudes recently started moving to Vegas. So I don't think they're going to pack up their house and say, oh, these are the bullets that was in the house when that was in the car we killed Pac. Let me just move them with me to my new house. Yeah, I don't even think that nobody will fall for that, bro. I think that's why I don't really think nothing gonna come out of this. You understand? And we'll see, but I doubt it. You know, I don't really think they really care about solving the death of Pac, the murder of Pac.
Yeah, I agree, man. But speaking of Keefe D confession, right, that you brought up earlier, do you believe what he said about Puffy?
I to be honest, I do. You know what I mean? I want to be careful with what I say. You know, as a Muslim, we don't have proof. We really can't really, you know, say stuff. But from what it seemed like and what the people were saying, Puffy hands was part of it. You know what I mean? And this is what we this is what we find out before Pac was killed. You know, a lot of things that was happening, a lot of fights that was happening over the chain, for example. We was hearing back then that chain was you know, when people try to say it wasn't a chain worth anything, that's a lie, because you know, all them death row chains at that particular time, they was worth money. Sure, he gifted all his homies like these real nice death row chains. You know what I mean? So back then we was hearing that Puffy was paying money to get that chain, and he wanted to put in a video. This was coming back to Pac while he was alive. So it seemed like, and like I said, as a Muslim, I can't say 100% because I don't have any proof. But the whole beef, you know, the whole beef with death row, you know, Bad Boy, it all, you know, Puffy was in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Unfortunately.
Wow. So when Pac was alive, he even knew about the bounty that Puffy had on a death row chain.
Yeah, when he was alive, we was hearing that's the reason why they tried to snatch that chain, is because it was a bounty on the chain saying, if you snatch the chain, bring it back to us, we will give this amount of money. And they was playing tick for tack. You know what I mean? I don't know if you heard before that, it was like pictures with, you know, Suge and Pac with some of, you know, Puffy small kids and on the death row sign. It was like a lot of, you know, immature stuff back then that probably like people was going for tiff and tat. It was just like it was heating up. So when we was hearing these rumors back in the day before Pac died, it won't be surprising to me that, you know, that he really probably had something to do with it. And you have some other, I don't know how authentic it is, you know, the investigation that they did years ago. And I forgot his name. What's his name? Greg Caden or whatever. You know, a lot of people, you know, they were saying that he had something to do with it, Puffy. But once again, you know, I'll be very careful with that, because if you don't, as a Muslim now, we don't have no 100% proof, then we can't really say it. You know what I mean? But I know when it was part of the East Coast, West Coast beef, both sides was doing, you know, it was involvements from, you know, Suge was the CEO of Death Row Records. Puffy was the CEO of Bad Boy. His hands is dirty. And he was intimidated of Pac. You know, he was intimidated of Pac, and, you know, scary people would do some scary things. They don't really want to solve the murder of Pac. They, you know, I really don't. I think they, you know, they was watching. As I said, they had undercover DEA on the team. They was watching every movement. They was watching things. And I believe, and I can be mistaken, that they probably know exactly what happened. And if they wanted to really solve it, they would have solved it years ago. But if you look at the history of Pac and where he come from with his parents and then himself, he always been on the opposite side of the law. And I don't mean it in a way like a criminal, like he's out stealing and stuff like that. He just come from an environment where he's seen his family get oppressed by the police. Pac himself, got beat up by the Oakland police. There was a guy, I don't know how old you are, you might not remember it, but it was a guy who was driving in Texas and killed the state trooper. You heard of this?
Yeah, the dude that played Tupac music.
He claimed he was listening to Tupac. So all of these things was adding up where law enforcement they was looking at Pac like he was enemy number one. So like I said, some of these police in America is like gangs. So they look at it like, okay, he's the opposite of our gang. So he died. We're not going to really care about solving his death. And that's how I believe how they looked at it about the situation with Pac. I think if they really truly wanted to solve it, it would have happened 30 years ago.
Man, listen, man, Napoleon definitely dropped some banger with his perspective. Because first of all, I also do not believe that the story that they came up with and say that they found bullets in Keefe home that may be connected to the murder of Tupac. Like 30 years plus that you're telling me that. Nah, man. I don't believe that, man. I seriously do not believe it, man. And as Napoleon said, Keefe might have, he didn't live there, so he might have left them, yes, but even if that was the case, I strongly believe that he would have gotten rid of them at some point, man. I don't believe that story, man. I'm just straight up, I do not believe it. Not at all. I want you guys to let me know if you guys believe it or not. No, when it comes down to the whole Diddy involvement in Tupac's passing, this has been a topic that has been a thing for, 30 years also, ever since the passing of Tupac. This has always been a theory, always been a topic. And real quick, Napoleon makes it clear that he doesn't have enough proof to say Diddy is actually involved, but he definitely believes it. No, I personally can't come on here and tell you guys that I have proof also, because I do not. What I have are people stories, people testimonies. For the most part, that is what the world got, right? Yes, obviously you have some people that were around those times that were in those lifestyle, were among the crew, were among the gangs that know for sure if Diddy did it or not, right? But as I said, for me and for most of the world, we got people stories, we got people testimonies. And a lot of people made it clear that Diddy was the one who, basically had a bounty on the death row chain. And not only that, he paid $1 million for the death of Tupac, right? So Diddy's name is highly and heavily involved in the passing of Tupac. Some people say Suge Knight also set up Tupac. I don't really believe that one, because if that's true and, they pulled up and the bullet grazed, if they were meant to make that bullet graze Suge Knight, man, those were some sharpshooters, man. Probably it was an accident too, I don't know. But I don't believe that Suge Knight set up that whole thing, man. Like, he risked his own life? Man, I don't know, man. I don't really believe that one, man. So, and another theory is that, Tupac just made a dumb decision, a stupid decision, and, attacked Orlando and went on like no retaliation would have happened. Those are like the three main theories. I would say the three biggest theories, but Diddy's name is probably the biggest name when it comes on to someone setting up Tupac, right? And I wouldn't put it across Diddy, man. I wouldn't put it past Diddy, I should say, man, because as Napoleon said, man, scared people do scary shit. And the world knew that Diddy was a scared little man, a scared little guy that would use his money to do scary things, right? So I need you guys to let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts and perspective, because as I said, for the most part, most of us do not have any solid proof. What we got are people's stories and people testimonies. So that's what we got to go off, right? And last but not least, Napoleon makes it clear that if the police wanted to solve this murder, they would have solved it. I agree 1000%. And I'm not going to spend too long talking about that. If they wanted to solve that murder, that would have happened a long time ago. So let me know your thoughts on perspective. Check out the rest of the interview.
How you feel about people that say Tupac died gangbanging?
People say Tupac died gangbanging. You know, to be honest, like Pac had a lot of love for Bloods and Crips. You know, he was with Big Sight. You know, Master Cody was his homie. Manu. These are all homies of Pac. And then Pac also had a lot of love for Suge and his homie Trey, Whack Dudes, Heron, Buntry. Because these are the individuals that's not only got him out of jail, but these was the people who was around him. You know, so of course, Pac is a loyal individual. So being that Suge just paid $1 million to get him out of jail, took care of him from the day he landed, you know, touchdown. These dudes around him, you know, Heron, Buntry, these dudes around him like soldiers. So that's why you started hearing Pac shout out, you know, the mob and things like that. It was from his loyalty that he felt like he wanted to show these dudes back that he got some loyalty for them. And even though LA dudes, like I was speaking to an LA dude, he said, well, what happened, we call it gangbanging because Pac fought a Crip dude that was an enemy of Paru Bloods. But I don't look at it that way. You know, Pac, you know, the first incident that happened with Orlando Anderson and Trey and them, when Orlando Anderson tried to snatch the death row chain, rumor was that Puffy was paying anybody who bring a death row chain, original death row chain, $10,000. This was the rumor, and this was the rumor that even got back to Pac. So when Pac seen Orlando Anderson, he looked at it like, that's the dude that Puffy tried to use to humiliate me by attacking. So that's why Pac reacted. You know what I mean? But he showed a lot of love to the mob, which was Suge homies, because they was the ones around him holding him down. And then you also him showing a lot of love to Big Sight. He was a Imperial from IVC, you know, Imperial Village Crip. Bogart was from Schoolyard Crips. Pac was with, you know what I mean? He was showing love with both parties. Pac always was trying to figure out how can he stop Bloods and Crips from killing each other. You know what I mean? So he had respect for both sides. So it wasn't like Pac said, wait a minute, that's a Crip, let me go attack him. Like Pac just full-fledged jumped into a gangbanging, like people try to claim, you know? He looked at it like that was the dude that tried to snatch the death row chain. Now, let me go represent. You know, that's how Pac looked at it.
Biggie and Puffy, they was getting protection from the Southside Crips, right? While they was in LA?
Yes. And this is, you know, I think, you know, some of the Southside Crips said that. So Biggie and Puffy was paying the Southside Crips for protection, knowing that these are the rivals of Suge of the mob Paru or the Bloods and, you know what I mean, and Compton. So eventually, man, that was a kettle, man, that was gonna blow up eventually. You know what I mean? That was just eventually was gonna happen.
How do you feel about people that say Puffy had something to do with Tupac death?
You know, never know. You know what I mean? You never know, bro. And I'm not saying it because this is you know, you can hear from the mouth, the horse's mouth himself, Orlando Anderson, Keefe D, the uncle of Orlando Anderson. He said himself, Puffy offered him money to kill Suge and Pac. This dude is on YouTube saying it. You know what I mean? I can't speculate and say it. I don't know, but these are individuals who ran with Puffy. They saying these things, bro. And so you never know. You know what I mean? Whatever happened in this worldly life, we'll see it on the day of judgment. We ain't gonna escape it. You know what I mean?
Well, there you guys have it, man. Napoleon makes it clear that a lot of people were saying that Tupac died from gang banging, man. It's really ain't like that, right? Because it's not like he was gang banging everywhere he go. Napoleon makes it clear that he was trying to actually make peace between both sides. So it still begs the question then, or I wouldn't say begs the question. I think with Napoleon saying that, it kind of eliminates the theory that Tupac died by gangbanging or died because, you know, he made a stupid move. right? And what can I say, man? What can I say? What can I say? Because for the most part, Napoleon makes it clear every single time that the reason why Tupac attacked Orlando was because of the whole bounty on the death row chain rumor. And that's why he really attacked Orlando. And Napoleon makes it clear that there were a lot of other, situations where Tupac could have attacked enemies, but he didn't. So for me, it kind of eliminates more the theory that Tupac died by gang banging, but I feel as if it's gang banging, it's still involved. Like, you can't really take that out of the picture. It's just a theory that Diddy was the one who caused that tantrum to be thrown, right? Diddy was rumored to, want a death row chain to be in a music video to obviously troll and belittle all the death row artists. And Tupac wasn't having that. But at the end of the day, gang banging still is and still will be in the picture. And for me, Tupac definitely still made a stupid move, because even if he attacked Orlando because of that reason, he definitely then should have had protection, be more protected, and move smarter. And obviously, he did not. Right? So even though Napoleon makes it clear that he was trying to make peace between both sides, and the only reason why he attacked Orlando was because of the whole chain rumor, Tupac still made a stupid move. And we just got to be honest. We definitely have to be honest. But as I said, it eliminates more of the whole reason he attacked Orlando was gang banging, but gang banging is still involved. That's really all I gotta say. I want you guys to let me know your thoughts on perspective. Let me know what you guys honestly believe down in the comment section, man. What theory do you guys believe? Is it 1, Tupac died because Diddy set him up and paid for him to be killed? 2, Suge Knight set up Tupac and risked his life and almost got killed? 3, Tupac died because of simpler gang banging. Let me know which theory you guys honestly believe down in the comment section, and let me know why you guys believe it. Remember to drop a like and subscribe, my people. Drop a like and subscribe, man. I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as usual, your boy is out.